Hello Internet, welcome back to another video on how to grow mushrooms with Fun Guy Mycology. In this video we are going to be going over how to grow in a mushroom bag, otherwise known as Bag TEK. It is a pretty popular method of growing mushrooms in which instead of using a tub, we are actually going to be using a bag. So I've already wiped the bag that you see here with 70% isopropyl. I just open the mouth of the bag and spray it inside and wipe it down with a paper towel, getting every crease. I have also pre-mixed my substrate, which you will see in the bucket, and I'm going to be using a small shovel which I purchased on Amazon. I want to make sure I wipe down all my tools, as you see in me do in all the other videos, with 70% isopropyl. Instead of making your own substrate, you can also purchase substrate bags from vendors who have companies that already pre-pasteurize the substrate to make sure you're getting the best quality for your mushrooms. In this case, you would just use that bag in which your substrate came in to grow the mushrooms themselves. Now make sure to wipe your hands. Again, you can never be too clean. Once I wipe down my hands, we're going to begin filling the bag with the substrate. I want to make sure I get my arms well because I'm going to be going on top of the bucket. Now I use 3 pounds of substrate per bag since I want a full total of 5 pounds including the grain. There are many different types of substrate mixes that you can use. The one that I'm going to be using today is a combination of cocoa coir, gypsum, and vermiculite, otherwise known as the CVG substrate mix. Other substrates include a manure-based substrate, which is also very good for growing actives, as well as the wood lovers mix, which is great for gourmet mushrooms like lion's mane and oyster mushrooms. There are many benefits to growing mushrooms inside of the bag. One of the reasons why I like to do it, it is space efficient for the area in which I grow my mushrooms, so I use a bookshelf, which doesn't allow much space for tubs. However, I can fit quite a few bags in the layers of where the books should be, which helps a lot with space efficiency. So at the end of the day, it really is what works for you best, what works for your space. But tubs are also a great method. There is no better method from one or the other. It's really just a matter of preference. I encourage everybody to try to experiment yourselves, try both methods, since both can be fun as well as efficient. Another benefit to growing inside the bag is the fact that it is a lot more user-friendly. There is not need to open the bag to fan or mist, because the Micron filter on the bag provides the adequate amount of fresh air exchange. If you do see that it needs a little bit more fresh air, then you can cut a slit in the bag once it starts spinning and cover it with some micropore tape. This will allow for more filtration, but it is sometimes not necessary, since again the filter patch, which in this case is a 0.5 micron filter, will provide the adequate amount of fresh air exchange. Now I'm pulling out here a pre-colonized bag of grain, which we're going to be using for this Bag TEK project. Remember, in the same way that it is with your tubs, the success of your grow will depend on the quality of your genetics, so make sure there is no contamination inside your bag before you introduce it to the substrate. I'm wiping everything down with 70% isopropyl, making sure that there is not going to be any contamination that will fall inside of the substrate bag once I pour in the grain. Now in this case, I really should have broken the grain prior to opening it up. So you're going to see me make the mistake of opening the bag first and then breaking the grain. I wanted to point that out so that you can make sure not to do the same. But in this case, it really did not cause any problem, since I'm working in front of a flow hood and all of the air is being cleaned as it's pushed out of any falling debris. I have been running bags as well as tubs for the better part of 2 years, and I have to say that between the two methods, the Bag Tech method provides me with a higher chance of success in terms of contamination. And I think the reason for that is that I don't have to open the bag and give any opportunities to introduce contaminants. As you see here, I broke the grain. Again, like I said, after I opened the bag. I should have done it the other way around, but no issues there. It all worked out in the end. When you're pouring in your grain, this is where you want to be very careful to not spill any of the kernels, or in this case with the corn, or any of the grain particles outside the bag. And we carefully fold the gussets together since we're going to be impulse sealing the top of the bag. If the bag is not folded correctly, it might not seal properly, so take your time with it. And you'll see me massage the bag here before I seal it to make sure that all of the grain is evenly distributed throughout the substrate, creating a homogeneous mixture. There is not really a need to go over the top with this. We just want to make sure that it is all evenly distributed. Shouldn't take longer than 30 seconds or so. And once you've got it nice and mixed, then we're going to go ahead and seal the bag. I want to take a second as well to say thank you for everybody that has been watching my videos so far. I recently reached the milestone of 250 subscribers, which gives me a lot of motivation to continue doing this. So once again, just thank you to everybody, and subscribe if it's something that you enjoy to watch. Now again, I'm folding across the gussets in the bag, making sure that the fold is going to be nice and even with no wrinkles. And that way we can ensure that when we place it in the impulse sealer, it is sealed properly. Here's the impulse sealer. I have a 16-inch impulse sealer. It's a little larger than what I need for this bag, but it should work perfectly. I have it on a separate table since the workspace on the work table that has the flow hood doesn't provide enough space, but I still have it close enough for some of the air is being filtered. I placed it in the middle, and when I press down on the impulse sealer, it'll click once it is done. And then I'm gonna flip the bag. We want to make sure we get it sealed on both sides. This gives us a higher chance of making sure there is no openings within the seal. And with that, we just want to make sure we pull it up close and check that there is no openings within the seal, so that we can go ahead and finalize the bag. Now that we have sealed the bag, I do like to press down lightly. I don't want to squish it down too hard, but just to make sure that the cake consolidates well. So as I press lightly on all sides, I try to make sure it is an even, flat surface coming in from the top, the back, and the sides. So that way, when we place a rubber band around it, it can be exactly half an inch below the surface, or I should say approximately half an inch below the surface. You see me tapping in the sides there. That creates a nice consolidated cake, but it's not too squished down. Again, just a light pressure. This is where I bring in the rubber band. And what the rubber band is going to do is it's going to cut off any air at the bottom of the bag, so that when it starts pinning, you don't have mushrooms or fruits growing from the bottom of the bag. Those are very difficult to pick off, and nobody likes those substrate covered fruits. So this gives us the opportunity to avoid the side pins. Now, one of the last things that we're going to do is, as we do with all of our other bags and plates, is just make sure that we label it properly. The Bag Tech takes about 2 weeks to colonize, the same with the tub. in which afterwards you can introduce fruiting conditions by cutting a small slit right below the filter patch and covering it with micropore tape. Once again, thank you so much for joining me in another video on how to grow mushrooms. We'll continue the series on the next video, but I hope everybody has a great day.